Well, good morning, Preston and Agile North. I was listening to the comedian Ed Byrne a few days ago, and he said when you're talking to a group of people, the only things you've got to remember are who you are, where you are, and what day it is. Now, I know who I am, I know where I am, I'm not even going to try the day. But I'm looking for, Agile North Day, thank you, Katie. I'm looking forward to a good day here today, and I love these events because I always find I learn a lot. It gives me a chance to think in a very busy world, and I'm hoping that in my talk this morning I can give you something which will hopefully entertain and inspire and give you a bit of food for thought to take into the rest of the day. I have two sons, and the talk that you're about to hear, which is not just a talk, there's quite a bit of music and video in this, so you can relax, sit back, enjoy, hopefully, as well as maybe, think a few things that you'll take through the day with you. But my sons, after I come back after a hard day at the office, I've spent most of the year doing a very large agile transformation for one of the big corporates in this country, who are in fact international as well, and have been trying to get agile ideas into a very hierarchical organisation. And it is a transformation and a real challenge. And I came back and I was muttering about transformation, and they started singing the music. And I won't do that, but the bit about the robots in disguise and all that sort of stuff. And I said, not that kind of transformers. And then I stopped and thought about it. There are parallels, and I'm going to make some of those parallels between the style of leadership that we're looking for in an agile situation and the style of leadership that you might see if you've seen the Transformers films. About how many of you have actually seen the Transformers films? A reasonable smattering, or read the comics, or seen the seen the show. These little things that are trucks and they turn into robots and that sort of stuff. So a few bits of video clip, bit of music, and hopefully we can make the parallels and draw some of the differences between the different styles of leadership. So, leadership is important. We may not feel that we doubt that, but quite a lot of the project management approaches around don't seem to take it from the perspective of leading and motivating. Agile does, but from within the team. What about the leaders, the project and the program leaders, who set the environment, set the culture, and give us the rules around which we can actually work? So, let me introduce you to our project and program managers. Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots. Okay, the Autobots are the goodies in the story, for those of you who haven't yet seen the film, but I do recommend it. I didn't think it would be my cup of tea, but it was. Optimus Prime is the sort of, I would say, the leader we would probably most like to work for. Megatron, well, there are different tastes in these things, but actually I'd run a mile. Let's have a look at them, and a few bits of video to sort of help us to understand where they're coming from.
And fate has yielded its reward. A new world to call home. live among its people now, hiding in plain sight, but watching over them in secret, waiting, protecting. I have witnessed their capacity for courage, and though we are worlds apart, like us, there's more to them than meets the eye. I am Optimus Prime, and I send this message to any surviving Autobots taking refuge among the stars. We are here. We are waiting.
So, Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots. The Autobots are the heroic race of Transformers fighting against the evil forces of the Decepticons. Optimus Prime is brave and heroic, compassionate, collaborative, not unlike some of the project managers we work with, perhaps. And will look after his troops, will protect his people, will make an environment in which they can work. But what of Megatron?
Looks on board, Master. The Autobots must be shielding their signals.
I can't even rely on you. What a simple insect!
What insect? About 7 million. It could be anywhere.
Then we will force them to find him for us. It's time for the world to know of our presence. No more disguises, no mercy. Time has come for my master's arrival.
So, Megatron, completely different kettle of fish there. Words like force, phrases like no mercy, powerful, ruthless, leading by brutal example. Do we know any project managers like that? Have you ever been on the receiving end of an arm-mounted fusion cannon? Metaphorically speaking, of course. And a few other things in there. Have you ever had a project or program manager pull the rug from under the team when, okay, you'd had some problems, but you're just getting there. You're improving things, and suddenly they don't trust you. It's all finished. And we could have done the job. So words like trust, words like compassion, words like collaboration don't enter into Megatron's vocabulary at all. But ultimately, is that a successful way of leading people? Obviously in the film it's rather extremes, and it isn't. But in real life, can you see the parallels? So, if I were to ask you which one is the agile leader, I think we'd hope it would be Optimus Prime. But in fact, in some corporations where at a project level we're trying to do agile and perhaps succeeding in doing agile to a degree, some of the seniors are actually probably not the agile style of manager, and the culture there is possibly not the agile style. So let's have a quick look at what we mean by agile and then what we mean by leadership. How many of you are involved with agile projects in some way at the moment? I'm expecting a rash of hands here, yeah, a little bit, okay. How many of you are definitely not? Okay, and how many of you don't know whether you are or not? Okay, yeah, and we got the sort of, well, agile-ish, okay. The sorts of approaches you find in there: Lean, Scrum, DSDM a turn being the latest version of that, feature-driven development. Crystal is a much more stateside approach, but again, quite well known, and extreme programming, probably the main names in the frame there. But set against management aspects of things like CMMI, the capability maturity model pressures, and the quality standards that are imposed on us, trying to work in that environment. The agile approaches collectively all try to allow us to use engineering best practices. They all have a certain philosophy and culture about them, about collaboration and facilitation rather than master-servant type relationships. And the project management approach has to really allow the team the freedom to work as that self-organising team that can actually work out how to get the job done and trust that team. And we do need a framework within which that can work. So our words like trust, courage, personal individual responsibility. If you're going to be allowed to get on with it, then the individuals there need to be personally motivated to do that and then to work as a team. So collaboration comes in there too. And I think some of the talks that you'll have later on will pick up on some of these points. I'm looking at the speaker at the back there for a nod, and I think so, yeah. Okay, and respect for each other. You know, respect for each other's skills. If I'm the developer and I say, you cannot run that kind of application in this kind of environment, I'd like to be listened to. If a business person says to me, if you do it that way, it won't work for me and my customers, I ought to listen to that. So it's this mutual respect and empowerment of the people actually who are the best people to make the decisions about the day-to-day projects that we're working on. But also it needs to be overlaid with a culture of deliver on time and produce the right quality, because that's what the organisation that we're working in is going to need. Agile is iterative, learn as we go, it's incremental, it's evolutionary, improve as we go. And we're doing things in chunks and trying to build in the learning as we go and build in an embracing of change. And we do need a little bit of structure around our teams. I know we talk about self-organising teams and we want to try and let people do the things that they have the best skills to do in the best way possible. But I often say that, you know, if it were a good idea to work without any team roles, we would still be playing football as we did when we were 7. Can you remember those team games when you were 7? Yeah? And what did you do? You were all very enthusiastic, no lack of skill and energy. But if the ball went over there, you all went over there. If the ball went over here, everybody went there. And places were not covered. We need some kind of discipline about team roles, but an ability to work within and across the team. So not too tight boundaries with our roles. That's the governance part that we will need, and this is where our link into the organisation will be. A project always has a sponsor, believe it or not. I was in a place earlier this week, which I won't name, because I'll be beheaded, and I said, who's the sponsor of this project? And everyone looked at each other and said, suppose it's Graham. No, it's Nadine. No, I think it's Graham, but we do most of the stuff with Rich, perhaps it's Rich. This project has been underway for probably 8-9 weeks. Nobody knows who the sponsor is? Iffy. And we need the business vision to be represented. We tend to do Agile in bits. Somebody has to have the big picture across the bits. Okay? And technical coordinator, the architect from a technical point of view, for exactly the same reason, so that we do something that's joined up, even if we do it incrementally.